The invitation was a thick piece of slate with Jonathan's name etched into the stone, delivered to his Manhattan penthouse. 3 days later, he was standing in the shifting sands of North Carolina's Outer Banks with the other members of the Apex Circle. They were staring at a line of wild horses that seemed to be walking on the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. The air tasted of salt and ionized electricity, and the morning light was a strange, diffused silver that turned the waves into sheets of hammered aluminum. "It's the Croatan Mirage," Jonathan whispered, squinting as the horses shimmered and hovered 5 feet above the whitecaps. They weren't just investigating a visual anomaly. They were hunting a real-world Fata Morgana, a complex superior mirage that had been tricking sailors in these waters for centuries. To understand the distortion of light, the group spent the afternoon with a master glassblower in a shack tucked behind the dunes. Jonathan stood before a roaring furnace that breathed out a dry, searing heat, smelling of scorched sand and wood smoke. He took a long iron blowpipe and began the artisanal task of gathering molten glass. It felt like trying to balance a heavy glob of glowing honey on a needle. He had to spin the pipe constantly, his eyes watering from the brilliant, orange-white glow of the crucible. As he blew a steady breath into the tube, the liquid fire expanded into a fragile, transparent bubble that caught the sun like a captured soap bubble. He learned that if he pushed too hard, the glass shattered. If he hesitated, it slumped into a useless lump. The mystery of the floating horses was eventually solved not by high-tech sensors, but by the glass. By looking through a curved, cooling pane they had just fashioned, the men saw how the temperature inversion in the air, cold water beneath warm air, acted exactly like a giant, natural lens. The horses were actually miles away on a distant spit of land, their image simply bent upward by the atmosphere and projected onto the horizon. It wasn't magic or a haunting. It was the earth playing with optics. Jonathan realized that the anomaly was just a matter of perspective, a trick of the light caused by the very air they were breathing. The thought hit Jonathan as he watched his delicate glass sphere cool into a solid, clear orb. He had spent his career looking for the truth in data and hard facts, but nature reminded him that reality is often filtered through the conditions around us. Sometimes, what we see as a miracle or a mistake is just a reflection of the environment we've built. He realized that being a leader wasn't about forcing his vision on the world, but about understanding the temperature of the room so he could see things as they truly were, not just as they appeared to be. That evening, the circle gathered on the deck of a beach house as the sun sank, turning the sky into a bruised palette of violet and gold. Jonathan poured a chilled glass of albarino, a wine that tasted of sea spray, green apples, and zesty citrus. The liquid was pale straw in the glass, glowing with a faint, greenish light that mimicked the ocean they had watched all day. The crisp acidity cut through the humid air, leaving a clean, mineral finish on his tongue that felt like the sand under his feet. He leaned back in his chair, feeling the grit of the day on his skin and the warmth of the wine in his chest. He looked at the glass orb he had made, imperfect, slightly lopsided, but real. He concluded that the greatest mysteries aren't the ones we solve with a checkbook, but the ones that remind us how small and lucky we are to be standing on a planet that can turn a horse into a ghost just by changing the weather. If you liked this video, please press the like button and subscribe to our channel.